Hey, welcome back to the 1525 restoration, everybody. I'm trying to get back into the swing of things and working on the stuff a little more regularly. Summer is starting to wind down, so hopefully get back on this project. Today I took a little bit of time and started working on this transmission top cover again. Went up and threw it in the sandblasting booth and gave it a quick sandblast, clean up the parts. I had the intention of getting it cleaned up and then starting to make some gaskets to start putting this stuff together, figure out felt for the shift, clean up the bolts so we can start putting it back on top of the transmission there. And that is the plan, but we'll have to take one step back here because after sandblasting it, I noticed inside of where these two parts meet, I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but I can see the light of day through them. They're not sealed up there anymore. I don't know if that was just a metal on metal fit originally, or if they had some type of a sealant in there or gasket or what, but I can see a big old gap there now, so there's no way that's going to hold oil. So I guess that means we're going to have to drill out these rivets, take that piece off, flatten everything back out, probably cut a gasket or sealant, and put it all back together with new rivets. Wasn't planning on doing that, but now's the time to do it, because if I don't, that's guaranteed it's going to leak oil all over the fresh new paint, and we don't want that. So yeah, I guess we're going to take that apart. One step forward, one step back. I got all the bolts cleaned up for all around there. A couple of lock washers, and that should be good. I'll have to chase all the threads yet. The usual stuff. I don't remember if I told you a while back I got some new tapered pins in for all the shift rails here. So we can put new ones in there because I mangled up the originals removing them. Yeah, other than that, not a whole lot's been happening here lately. So I got the rivets drilled out, punched out. How dumb is this? So I found the reason why there was that big gap there. There's an X on the casting, a raised X. So that's why it wasn't sitting down flat. How dumb is that? Why would they put that there? Doesn't look like there was any gasket here. Maybe some type of a sealant? It's hard to tell if that's actually something or if that's just petrified grease and gunk. I think we'll probably cut a gasket and put some sealant on there and grind that X off so it sits down flush, and we should be good to go. I'll have to see if I have any rivets that size or if I have to order some. Happy Labor Day, everybody. What are you laboring on today? Today I'm laboring on the 1525. Get you caught up here. So between the last video and now, I think I showed you I'd got that unriveted from the piece, got that X ground off smooth, got everything straightened out so they sit together nice. I cut a gasket for between the two. Right now I just have them put together with screws and bolts, machine screws and bolts, or machine screws and nuts rather, excuse me. Because I don't have any rivets the correct size to do that. I'm putting together a list of stuff to order at McMaster-Carr, but I don't want to order it yet because I only got a couple things. I'm trying to put together a bigger list. Anyway, we'll get back to that once I actually have the rivets in hand. Chased the threads of the bolts. Cut another gasket for this between this piece and that piece. So basically that's all ready to go. Once we get it re-riveted, I took and chased all the threads for these bolts, and I cut a new cork gasket for between the cover and the transmission. So again, that's all, ready to go. I started working on other parts for the transmission. These two are for either side of the main shaft of the transmission that all the gears are on. I cleaned them up, gave them a quick sandblast, chased the threads again. This one, don't lose the bolts. This one, this cover I took off, and there was the two leather seals in there that we'll have to figure out to make new ones. That's those guys there. Those are the paper gaskets that went behind these two parts that I'm showing you. We'll have to make some new ones of them. This goes on this side. Same story, cleaned up, threads chased. This is the cover for the shift rails here. Threads chased. Again, we'll have to make a gasket for that. This is for the other side of the shift rails. All the detents and springs and whatnot are in that to keep you from shifting and to do two different gears at once and all that kind of fun stuff. I got to finish final cleaning and chasing this stuff yet, but I got it roughly cleaned up, sandblasted. I will have to clean up the big part that goes there, this one first, because that goes on the transmission housing first, and then that guy goes on top of it. So I won't be able to finish this until I get that other one done. But yeah, I just figured I'd kind of show you what I've been working on here. Like I said, trying to get back into the regular habit of working on these things. It's probably not back to a weekly video amount of work yet, but at least try to put one out on a, let's say at least every few weeks or whatever here. So kind of neat, cleaning out bolts for those parts I just showed you. And there's writing on this one. I've never seen writing on any of the bolts on any of my old Allises before. Anybody ever seen this before? To me, it looks like S, either C or O. Probably O, O, V, I, L. I think it's another faint L. I don't think it's an I. Looks like a little bit of a bottom on that L. What is that? Anybody ever seen that before? Kind of cool. There, that's all cleaned up now. Threads chased. New gasket cut there. That plate straightened out. New lock washer because the old one was cracked. Really got to keep an eye on that when you're reusing old hardware. A lot of times those old lock washers will have cracks in them. So they're really no good. Hardware chased. So that assembly is, all these assemblies are ready to go basically. A couple more castings cleaned up. That's the one that goes there. And that's the one we were just talking about a little while ago that goes on the other side. Threads chased, blah, blah, blah. We can start dry fitting a couple things now. Put all the parts on for the first light toss, dry fit. No gaskets, there's parts missing yet internally, whatever. It was just wanted to see things come together type of a situation. Put all the detents in. I was just playing with the shifting. Everything shifts the way it should. Happy with that. Here again, we don't even have the main belt pulley shaft in the transmission, so it's nothing is even remotely done here, but kind of a check off the list as far as we know that things are working. As far as the detents and the shifting actual lever goes. So I'm happy with all that. Kind of a trick to put this back together because there's that one detent in between the two shifting rails. So to get it either together or apart, you have to have the one rail all the way out, put the detent in it, slip this casting onto it, hold that detent up in place with the screwdriver, and then put the other shift rail into place. Hopefully that makes sense. Kind of a puzzle. Took me a second. I know it had to both go together because we'd got it apart, vice versa. So yeah, that's what I know for now. I'm gonna probably take this back apart now, and we'll figure out what's next. Okay, here's a better shot of that internal plungers I was telling you about. Got it taken apart. So there's the little detent that goes in between when these are lined up in the right spot. That'll go in between here. So the rail can only be in one spot at a time. You can't have both, so to speak. Keeps you from shifting both forks. And then these detents, one is there and the other up here with the spring in there behind them with the plug holding the spring. Pretty self-explanatory there. But to put it together, take it apart. Take it apart, actually, I guess, as long as your rails are sliding, you can pull it right off. I took the plugs out to let the pressure off the springs, took the springs out, and then take the bolts off, and then this will come apart because the rails will slide as far as taking it apart. So I don't know. Note for Dad back home, I know you're struggling to get that apart on the Michigan parts tractor. So long as these rails are both sliding, it will all come apart easy. So that might be the issue there, because on that tractor, as we all know, everything is stuck on that tractor. Nothing turns that it's supposed to. So to put it back together, you put you can do it a couple different ways. You can start it here. You can put your detent, middle detent, slide it down, get it down into place in between here, so it's in that detent, and then push the rail and the assembly into place till things line up, and then you can put your other detents in. It's basically how that's done. I'm not going to do it because I can't do it with one hand in camera here, but I think you got the idea. I just wanted to kind of show you how that all works. Kind of a interesting thing you don't typically see.